Well, okay.
Yeah, another great set. Huh,
As has become routine.
I guess so. We're getting spoiled here. It's pretty amazing music again. You want to run down that set list or shall I?
Oh, go right ahead.
All right, I got it right here. Music Never Stopped. Easy answer is a quick return to the Music Never Stopped. Touch of Grey, Tennessee Jed, Mr. Charlie, Black Throated Wind, Cassidy, and Don't Ease Me In. It's nice that Touch of Grey finally got played after being booted off the list at the last second a couple of times already on this tour.
Yeah, the song was starting to get a complex about that, so we're happy it was redeemed. Don't Ease Me In. I love the way John Mayer has taken over the lead vocal on that. It was the Grateful Dead's first single way, way back before they were signed to Warner Brothers on Scorpio Records. And it's an old song dating back to the 1920s, I believe. Henry Thomas, the legendary Henry Thomas, wrote that one.
I believe it was recorded at Gene Estrabou's house on Buena Vista West in San Francisco, which later became Graham Nash's house,
That's
if I
correct.
remember correctly. Yeah,
That's
way
correct.
back. Anyway, we're doing the set break schmooze here for Nugs.net, and if you're watching the free preview of the Dead and Company show this evening on YouTube, you can convert that to a paid viewing of the entire show and also go back and watch the first set if you missed it by going to livedead.co or nugs.net, both of which wind up in basically the same place. I'm not sure what the differences are, but nugs.net and livedead.co have many, many options for you to subscribe to this tour, watch the videos on this tour, do audio only of this tour in many formats, and there's various other things like a subscription to nugs.net that they would like you to check out. That's why we're doing this, to attract your attention, get you interested in Dead and Company, and get you interested in nugs.net. But in addition to that, we've got a guest we're going to be talking to, right, Gary?
Yeah, shall we bring him on right now?
I would say so.
Well, this is one of my most eagerly anticipated guests of the tour. This gentleman wandered into the world of the Grateful Dead one memorable March night in 1990. He's been family ever since, but I'd want to be talking to him even if that never happened because he's one of my favorite musicians and one of my favorite people. Will you please welcome Mr. Branford Marsalis?
Lambert, David,
Hello.
how are you?
Nice to meet you.
You as well.
We're on a last name basis.
We are for a long time.
Anyway,
now.
That's right. It's great to see you, my friend, as always. And great to be at a show together, although not together. It's kind of a strange way of witnessing it.
Yeah,
it is still strange, but I'm glad we're able to afford people who are not traveling right now the opportunity to do this, and so glad and so thankful to you for joining us. So we got some time to talk while the band retreats to their little lair, and so let's get to it, man. How have you been doing in this wacky year and a half? Have you been keeping your creative chops together and your sanity and all those other things?
Oh yeah. The list of things you don't do well is very long. So I worked on striking some of those things off the list, and I put it to good use.
That's good to know. And that's been sort of a characteristic. I think a lot of people have found creative reserves in them and ways of using the unexpected free time to handle some things in their lives that maybe needed handling, needed a kind of a slow down moment in their life. It's a longer moment than any of us would have cared to have, but it's worked out well for a lot of us, and our hearts go out to the ones for whom it hasn't worked out well.
Right.
I think we should ask, we've heard this story a million times, but it turns out they're growing new deadheads all the time who were not born in 1990 when you first came into the scene. So if you just give a brief summary of how you found yourself in this world and what it was like for you.
Okay. there's a music manager named Jim Louie who was working with a band in New York called Milk, who were very ironically a Dead cover band, but they were doing a demo, and he asked me to help him produce the demo. And his cousin Annie Venus worked in video production for the Dead.
Right. You
So
know,
she
Annie.
arrives in town, calls Jim, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing this project with Branford." He goes, "Oh, Phil loves him." So I sent the message, "Hey Phil, how you doing?" He sends back a message, "Come sit in with us. We're playing in Nassau tomorrow." I said, "Well, we're finishing this tonight, so yeah, tomorrow I'll drive to Nassau." And because I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and I go play with the band. I didn't think I'd get in because I didn't have a pass. I didn't have anything. And it's just funny, the Dead culture. Yeah, I'm supposed to play with the boys. Okay, yeah, go on in. You know, I couldn't believe that. So uh, just walk in. Sure. I'm like, that's crazy because I had already finished 2 tours with Sting. And I mean, you can't even go to the bathroom without a pass. And so I was, whoa. So met the guys and they brought me up on the last song of the first set, which is the exact same thing I would do because other than Phil, they didn't know me. They didn't know whether I could fit in with the band or anything. So they bring you up, and if you sound like garbage, they can say, thanks for playing and go home. So, and it's only one song. It's not like the whole set is ruined, and I got it. So we started playing, and we just hit it off. It worked.
And it was Birdsong, which is a song which would absolutely be in the wheelhouse of a gifted improviser. So they made it easy on you, yeah, in a way.
Yeah, they did.
But the extent to which you fit in and to which you acclimated yourself to that musical atmosphere was, maybe I don't want to use the word magical, but maybe I do, because there was an affinity there that's rare. Sometimes sit-ins are kind of awkward, because people defer. They say, "Oh, after you, no, after you," and then nothing gets said, or people step all over each other. But
Right.
you were finding the right spaces in the music to step into, and the band was affording you the right spaces. And I'll tell you, I'm a New Yorker who was living in California at the time, and I often tried to make it back for East Coast runs, but I couldn't because of work things. And my phone rang the next morning, and people said, "Did you hear what happened last night?" And I said, and man, that was one trip east I will always regret I never made. But luckily, we got to see you sit in with the band a bunch more and some of the subsequent post-Dead bands. And you've been speaking that language with those guys for more than 30 years now.
One of our viewers was curious to know how you wound up. Did they invite you to stay and play the whole second set with them?
They did. I'm a realist when it comes to these things. So after about 10 minutes of chatting, I said, "Well, look, man, thanks for letting me play. I appreciate it." And they said, "No, you should stay for the second set. We're going to play Dark Star. We haven't played that in months. It's going to be really trippy. You just go out." No, I didn't know. But then when I heard it, I said, "Oh, okay. Yeah, this I can do." That's right in my wheelhouse. So,
right.
In the audience reaction, there was a huge reaction when it started. So I said, okay, they were right. They hadn't played this in a while. And yeah, it was fun. It was a fun concert. I mean, the trick is always to just stay out of the way. That's the trick.
Yeah.
So many times in the jazz world, a lot of people that play jazz, the reason that they actually like jazz is because they get to solo. And that's their moment and it's about them. Well, I like jazz because I actually like the sound of it. And the solo thing is real low on my list. I solo, but and when I was sitting in with the Dead, I mean, I've always been. I grew up playing in a horn section in an R&B band, and the horn section is always invisible but essential to the sound. And I'm completely comfortable with being a section guy, just playing in a section and playing an occasional 8-bar solo. I grew up doing that, so I don't mind blending in with the furniture as long as the band's sounding good. And it's never going to sound good if I'm just playing and playing and playing instead of complimenting. So I think it worked out well because they're very complimentary musicians, and we were all sharing ideas. It was really cool. We were sharing ideas, and It was fun. That was a fun night.
Yeah. And, the primary concern for the Grateful Dead and the primary concern of the really good jazz musicians is not flaunting those chops, but enhancing the quality of the conversation.
Right. Yeah, the song is the most important part, not the harmony or the structure or any of that crap. It's more about the song, the sound of the song. How do I blend in with the sound of the song?
Yeah.
And one way is to always to wait. So I think that night particularly, I wouldn't really come in until the second verse. I would listen in the first verse, and then the chorus would come in the second verse, and then the second verse is when I started to react to what was going on, because I got a sense of the form and the sound.
Right. One thing I wanted to ask about, because I think what we're seeing in the Dead world now is something that you're used to, which is the intergenerational quality of musical tradition, the way there are mentors and students who become mentors and all that. And that's been going on in the post-Grateful Dead world. And you, of course, come from an illustrious musical family and also from a city where there are musical dynasties, like legendary families that pass on the tradition. So the Dead scene is kind of like analogous to that. When we see cats like Jeff Clementi and O'Teal and John picking up the torch, it's a very similar process to what I've experienced of New Orleans music and your family's music.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are killing it too. I mean, it's fun to listen to. I mean, I've known O'Teal and Jeff for a very long time in different settings. Because Jeff used to be, well, probably still is, but Jeff was in Rat Dog, and that's when I first met him. And O'Teal was playing with a bunch of guys. I think he was playing with I could be wrong, but I think he's playing with Colonel Bruce Hampton in the Aquarium Rescue Unit.
First came up, yeah.
And then who else? I heard him with someone else. It could have been this kind of band. I think it might have been the Doobie Brothers band, or is it the Allman Brothers? I'm sorry, the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, I remember the Allman Brothers.
The Allman Brothers. That was the first time that I heard him, and I was like, man, between it was. They were just firing, because I think Haynes was in that group too. Steve Haynes.
Warren.
Steve Haynes is the director of jazz studies at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So sorry about that. He's a good friend of mine. Right. Yeah. Warren Haynes was in there, and who else was in there? Oh man, yeah, the Almonds were there, but then the young guys were just killing it. Derek Trucks. Yeah,
Derek Trucks came into Derek Trucks came into the band while O'Teal was there. And they maintained the traditions of the Allman Brothers band, and they also brought something really new to it. And I love, what Jeff and John Mayer and O'Teal bring to Dead and Company is great, because they have musical vocabularies that were cultivated after the Grateful Dead started. So they bring all this modern stuff into it. Last night I heard they played an incredible Bird song, which was your first song with the Grateful Dead, by the way. They played a fantastic 20-minute version. And at one point, they got into this little kind of double time vamp. And I heard Jeff starting to tease Herbie's Cantaloupe Island. And O'Teal picked up on it right away. And I texted Jeff today to verify if my ears didn't deceive me. And he said, yeah, that's what it was. So, and I said, man, this band could take Cantaloupe Island, an incredible place. So that wouldn't have occurred to the guys in the Grateful Dead, probably, because they had their other vocabulary. So I love the way the music keeps reinventing itself,
Yep.
I should interrupt quickly here and remind people that what we're offering here is a free preview of Dead and Company's show at Hershey Park tonight on nugs.net. If you've already paid for this, then I'm just giving you an annoying interruption. But if you haven't yet paid for it and you're watching the free preview, you can convert this to a paid thing and watch you're going to get the first song of the second set only on this free preview. You could go to nugs.net or livedead.co and sign up to buy the thing, and then you can go back and watch the first set as well. And there are other things going on that NugsNet wants you to know about. And you can find out all about them at livedead.co. And now back to your conversation.
All right. Also talking in terms of lineage and mentors, of course, you are the son of a great musician, a great mentor to not just to your family, but to generations of New Orleans musicians. And he spent time in New York as well as part of the larger jazz community. Ellis Marsalis, who we unfortunately lost last year, but his legacy is being carried on with something called the Ellis Marsalis Center for Music. And I know
Right.
we try to support a lot of good causes here during the course of this, and I was very happy to hear about the establishment of this. So could you tell us a little bit about the Ellis Marsalis Center?
It was we started building it as part of the Musicians Village right after the whole crazy thing with Katrina in 2005, and it is basically an after-school center focused on kids in the Upper Ninth Ward neighborhood we're using music as a way to just have kids use their brains. We're not trying to train per se the next young generation of musicians, but we're using music to keep these kids intellectually engaged, and they can do their homework at the center, because a lot of the kids in the neighborhood, their parent works or both their parents work, and they're in that dreadful weird hour where they're spending 3 or 4 hours at home watching television or sitting on the porch or worse. So we're trying to fill that space by giving 100 kids some place to go. And I think we started in 2007, and it's been going strong. It's doing really well.
That's wonderful.
Great. And you can find out about that by checking out ellismarsaliscenter.org, and I recommend that you do so, please. Man, there's so much we can talk about, Bran. I mean,
yes, Lambert, there is.
Go off into all kinds of tangents. Another thing about commonalities in this music is what we get from Bobby and Billy and Mickey in this band is that incredible core relationship of musicians who have played together as long as they have.
Right.
I mean, and that creates something that's irreplaceable. And I've been thinking your band has been together for a really long time now, Joey Calderazzo and Eric Rivas. And I think the drummer is the new kid. He's been with you for more than 10 years now, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not anything like, like the guys, like you said, Mickey, Bill, and I'm spacing.
Bobby.
Well, thank you. God, Bob. Sorry, bro. I'm 61, man. It's not like it used to be. But it's nothing like those guys. They've been together for 50 years. I mean, they've been together a long time. Yeah, this particular iteration of the group is about 10 years old, but Joey joined the band in 98 and Eric joined the band in 96. And yeah, we're still finding places to play. I mean, places to go in the music. We're still finding places to go. So that's the fun part. It's not a nostalgia band. We're getting after it. And that's the great thing about the guys is like, it's not a nostalgia band. They're getting after it.
Right. Now, I got to hear you guys play a pretty rare club gig, a one-night club gig in New York a while back. And Phil was there that night. Phil happened to be in New York.
Through. I know. That was really cool of him to do that.
Yeah, and man, you guys...
That club's gone now. I think it's the Jazz Standard.
The Jazz Standard, although I'm hearing that space may find new life as a club. So we're hoping for it. Yeah. Well, Pete Shapiro from the Lock-In Festival and Capitol Theater and all of that has actually been using the space as a webcasting studio during the pandemic and having performances there that the rest of the world can see. And there's talk about maybe getting it open again as a club. I hope I'm not talking out of school, but there's been chatter.
No, that's great.
I'm hoping that proves to be true. Yeah,
That would be
because it's a
great.
beautiful room, and man, you guys were burning in that room. I got to say, I love that band, and at the peak of your powers. So,
Oh, thanks, brother.
yeah. Now you've gotten to get out and gig a little bit. Did you go overseas pretty recently
Yeah.
for some gigs?
Yeah. We were in Europe for 2 weeks, playing in places that we normally play, in places we don't normally play. So we played in Tbilisi in Georgia, first time. That was great. The three big cities in Poland, we play there all the time. Warsaw, Krakow, and Gdansk, or as we say, Gdansk. Those places are just, Poland's a real music country. So they really respond to instrumental music well, which is nice. Played in a town in Germany that I've never played before, in Karlsruhe, which is about 2 hours from Frankfurt. So it was really great to play an 11 p.m. show in Perugia in the Umbria region of Italy. Wow. And after the show, take a bus to drive to Rome, arrive at 4 a.m., wake up at 8 to take a 10:20 flight to Frankfurt, followed by a 2.5-hour drive. And we had about 2 hours off before we did 2 shows that night, starting at 6:30. I was like, man, I haven't done anything like this since I was young. This was great. It was absolutely insane. But we pushed through it. We survived it. It was great.
I wonder if it was the very same venue. There's a legendary video from about 1967 of the Miles Davis Quintet with Herbie and Wayne and Ron and Tony playing in Karlsruhe. So I wonder.
I'm pretty sure it is not the same venue.
Oh, okay.
I feel comfortable in saying that. No, not the same venue.
Well, Karlsruhe got lucky a couple of times in history, at least. They got you and they got Miles. Not too bad.
Yeah, that must have been something.
Yeah, that band. Yeah, it's out. They put it out. They put out a box set of Miles' '67 Europe tour, and they included a DVD of the film music. And it's, man, talk about a band with telepathy.
Yeah, they were firing.
Yeah,
that's a great band.
Yeah. So, have you been able to make any definitive long-term plans to get back out on the road, or is everybody sort of sitting back a bit and waiting to see how these things develop?
No, we're good. We're ready to go, and I think that a lot of concert promoters and municipalities are waiting around. But we have a West Coast tour scheduled for October, for like a 3 weeks on the West Coast, and next year, man, from January to June, it's just explosive. It's so many concerts and so much stuff. So I'm just resting up for next year because that's going to be good. Well, it's going to be tiring, but it'll be good.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's safe.
Yeah, well, you do what you can. I mean, you get your vaccine, you wear your masks when you need to. And most places in Europe are already kind of, they're going to have vax card mandates. A lot of places in Europe haven't had access to the vaccine.
Right.
Like in Georgia, there was only 3% of the population that even had access to the vaccine. But It was an outdoor concert, so it was fine. Most of the concerts were outdoors. And
and it's
it's
good to see more. I'm sorry.
The virus is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So you just have to be smart about it. Just don't be reckless, And every country we went into, as soon as we got to the border, they're like, vaccine card, please. They weren't messing around. And
good.
In that stuff that we have in at home here, You didn't see people running around screaming, "I refuse to wear this mask on the plane." Everybody just does what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
They just,
I
they just do it.
I'm old enough to have been around when polio was still a thing, and getting a
Right.
polio shot was accepted and routine, and the people who were talking against it were so on the fringe. There was like
Right.
such a national mission to take care of this thing, and I hope we can, educate the educable and enlighten those who can be enlightened to the greatest extent possible. In the meantime, I'm glad that a lot of the arts presenting organizations and the national promoters are doing the right thing in terms of, regulating who
Right.
can come to the
You just do
show,
what you have
what
to.
the rules are. Yeah.
The history of the United States is fraught with a jackass contingency that's roughly 1/3 of the population. There was 1/3 of the population who thought we should remain loyal to King George. There was 1/3 of the population who started a ridiculous civil war where all the industry was on the northern side and the population, and they somehow thought they could win. I mean, I could just go on and on. So I wasn't surprised by this. I'm like, there they are again. The third of the country from the lower third. There they are. But they're at the end of the day, we give outsized energy to fringe mentality. I don't know why we do that, but we tend to do it. And
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
there's
I'm not
money in it, I guess.
I don't. Is there really? I just. I think there's
Clearly,
some
the
kind
fear
of
and loathing industry is thriving in this country.
yeah, some
In
kind of full
certain corners of the
outrage.
media
Yeah,
and
the fear.
stuff.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Touche. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not as I mean, maybe it's because I grew up in the South and I have a lot of friends, and there's certain subjects where they are not educable. Their minds are made up, and I wouldn't spend 5 minutes trying to dissuade them. I just wear my mask. I'm just not. I'm not having this stupid debate. I'm not even having it because it's stupid. So
I
so
understand that.
yeah. So rather than spend all your time trying to change people's minds, man, let them do their thing over there. Let them do it. It's fine.
We just
Yeah.
got to figure out how to work around them and through them and past them.
Well, we always have. We always had to
point.
deal with them. Well, but they're not going anywhere. And I mean, we're supposed to be the place that we allow people to have their beliefs. I mean, but I also believe in that old sign that says "No shirt, no shoes, no service." So
Exactly.
nobody
Exactly.
says you have to wear a shirt, but you can't
And
bring your
caring
ass
about
in
your
here.
neighbors is a nice tradition we used to have around here too.
Yeah. Hey, Branford, I think we're hearing the band is arriving back on stage. As
Cool.
always, my friend, I love talking to you as much as any human on the planet. Always a blast. And we hope we can be together in the same space sometime. It goes without saying that you are always welcome on the Dead and Company stage whenever it's possible for people to mingle again. So, come on around when you can.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it. All right, Lambert.
Great
Nice to meet you,
having you.
David.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
See
Gary.
you soon,
Take care,
brother.
brother.
All right.
Okay.
You
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And the band should be arriving soon on stage soon. Let's remind people that it's a free nugs.net sample of the Dead and Company show tonight. And if you're enjoying this on YouTube, you can go to livedead.co and pay for it and watch the whole thing. And you can get it in 4K as well if you have the hardware for it. They're broadcasting in the highest possible resolution right now. And I can tell you, as a trained audio professional, the mix is amazing and the audio quality is spectacular. And by the way, if you don't want to get into the video thing, you can subscribe to nugs.net audio feed and download the shows. And we should probably turn it over to the stage right now. What do you think, Gary?
Well, we haven't gotten lights yet. We haven't been told lights.
Okay.
So,
Keep blabbing then.
in that, so didn't I tell you that was going to be a cool conversation, man?
Oh, by the way, Jay
best.
Blake mentioned that the house where they recorded Donnie's Meal was next door to the house that later became Graham Nash's house.
Okay.
I
All
thought
right.
it was the same house, but Jay knows he lives in the city.
Indeed. So the band we are told is coming back to the stage. And speaking of the realm of sound and it sounding so good, we always have to give a shout out to the great Derek Featherstone, the house
Yes,
sound
indeed.
person for Dead and Company, and also the Nugsnet folks who translate that sound that he gives them into beautiful and pristine sound on your TV or whatever your listening device is. I've been so happy with the mixes.
I have been downloading these shows, the morning after and collecting stuff to play on various radio shows. We should, by the way, mention that Gary and I are co-hosts of Tales from the Golden Road on Sirius XM's Grateful Dead channel. And tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll be opening the phones and talking to people. Love to hear your stories about things. But we're also going to break our format a little bit. We usually play 2 short pieces of music. But Lambert and I were both so blown away by the bird song from last night that we're going to carve out a little extra time and play that whole 20-minute thing in its entirety. That's how strongly we believe in that particular piece of music. So join us tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM 23, the Grateful Dead channel. The show is called Tales from the Golden Road, and you participated in it by calling and telling us a story.
And we've been doing it for more than 13 and a half years. And there is no sign of the interest in this music and this band and this universe flagging. And we're so happy to have the opportunity to talk to people about it every Sunday. And so we're really looking forward to tomorrow's show. We're really looking forward to Dead and Company being back on stage any second now, as we have been told by people who should know. So we're waiting for that to happen.
Fred sent us the signal that the lights were down and then said, sorry, false alarm. So we've been pranked on our program.
No, that was actually several minutes earlier, I think that was. So anyway, we know they're almost there. And I've had this running joke with Bob Weir for a long time where, I talk to Bob about how a tour is, and he says it's getting there. And I said, Bob, you've been telling me that since 1973 now. So so this is kind of a microcosm of that process. The band is getting there.
Those guys are always doing that. They've always kind of been, denigrated their own work just a little bit and never quite, and that's fine. You want an artist to always feel tension between what they're achieving and what they think they're capable of. But that's been kind of one of those things, that none of them wants to stand and go, yep, we're great. And that's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you always want to be in a perpetual state of getting there rather than saying I've arrived. That's
exactly so.
Yeah. Anyway, but we're getting awfully philosophical in our old ages because we have to wax philosophical because we have no choice because we're getting paid to talk until the band is on stage, which should be really, really soon.
We might want to mention the fact that even though he's 73 years old, Bob Weir still has really, really great legs. Have you noticed that? He was wearing shorter shorts last night, but he's still pretty. My wife is saying yes, indeed. The women noticed that.
Yeah, he's calling to mind those old totally ripped guys on Venice Beach. Those bodybuilders you see on Venice Beach in Southern California who look a little like old prospectors, but also are incredibly just buff. Bob's kind of cultivating that look these days.
Somebody on Twitter wanted to know if there was a reason why he decided to become so healthy and fit and all. And I just thought staying healthy and fit into your 70s is motivation enough, right? You didn't need a specific thing. Oh, my wife asked me to take off some weight.
I think Bob has arrived at the conclusion that longevity is a pretty cool thing. He's always talked about that. He's always said, his role models were people like Count Basie, who played into their 70s, and Duke Ellington. The guys who were in it for the long haul. Duke Ellington's great line. Someone asked him if he was going to retire, and Duke Ellington said, "Retire to what?"
Right.
And I think Bob's got that. I think Bob's got that philosophy too.
I'm under the impression that Bob Dylan got that from his time hanging out with the Dead, that he realized that all of his heroes, Hank Williams, all those people were lifers, and they just kept playing. It's like, and I remember Paul Kantner said that to me once, retire from playing?
Right.
It's not something you retire from. It's something you do until you can't do it anymore. I intend to keep playing music until I can't play music anymore, and I expect you do too.
Oh yeah, no, it's an incredible gift to have, and I think it keeps you younger, or at the very least, keeps you immature, which is just as important.
But getting back to the Bob Weir, the fit, cut 73-year-old, I think it's just a simple matter of wanting to be healthy and happy. I took some steps to ensure my longer life as well, because who wants to spend your food budget on insulin?
Well put. Indeed. So the band has been arriving on stage.
Yeah,
The band's been
please.
arriving on stage for some time. Lights.
Please start.
Good night.
Lights.
We'll see
We're
you.
done. See you next time.
you.